Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Alina Islam, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm very pleased to introduce EnviroGold Global to you today, a technology company deploying its proprietary technology to process tailings and produce strategic and precious metals in a sustainable manner. For the webinar today, we have with us Mark Thorpe, CEO and Executive Director. Mark will provide an introduction to the company, including an overview of activities currently underway across its assets. After the presentation, we'll take your questions live. Please send us your questions via the chat box and we'll get through as many as we can. Before we get started, I do need to mention the fine print. For EnviroGold Global, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the EnviroGold Global corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for EnviroGold Global specific disclosures. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Mark. Please take it away.
Thank you very much, Elena, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and good day. It's been a very exciting last few months for us, and I'd like to go over that with you this afternoon, including a press release that we had today. As Alina mentioned, we have our forward-looking statements. These are available, as she mentioned, on our webpage, and I'm obligated to put them up for you here today. So EnviroGold Global, to give a little background for everybody, we've got resource recovery technology, and what we do is we close the circular economy by recovering strategic, precious, and critical metals from mining waste, in particular tailings and smelter wastes. And it's part of the metal production that we need for the transition economy. Our technology is elegant, and it takes metals in complicated tailing situations, particularly in pyrite tailings, volcanic massive sulfides, and we subject them to a proprietary leach, which operates at about 85 Celsius and atmospheric pressure. This simplifies the flow sheet quite a bit. We have a relatively small operational footprint and relatively low energy for the metal production because we don't have to mine and crush and grind. And this enhances our ESG profile. In addition to recovering the metals from the tailings, our process also reduces the potential for acidic drainage from the tailings and allows for better closure options for the tailings owners. We also have 22 patents and designs in our IP portfolio, and the technology that I'm going to be talking about primarily today has a patent pending on it. Our business model is a simple one. We enter into commercial agreements with the project owners. That could be a historical site, could be an operating site, and in some cases, people are asking us to have a look at their sites, particularly at the PFS stage when they are identifying the need for additional metal recovery. We complete our metallurgical testing and optimize the technology for the specific site at which we're working. And then we can deploy modular scalable plants, or we look at a revenue model which allows for an upfront licensing fee and then a royalty on the metals produced throughout the life of the project. Currently, we have a pipeline of about $5 billion worth of project opportunities as revenues. The market for our technology is particularly large. There's hundreds, if not thousands, almost thousands of VMS tailings around the world, many of which contain large quantities of metal. And the interesting thing here is that a lot of that metal is locked up in the pyrite, which we unlock for these particular projects. The nice thing about this is it's relatively quick to market. Many of the traditional mining exploration projects are taking 12 to 15 years to come to fruition. And in our case, we're aiming between 2 and 3 years to get the projects into production. The advances that we've made recently, and I have to add one to this, that we announced this morning. We just announced this morning that we have signed an MOU with Luca Mining to evaluate their Campo Morado tailings. So we're delighted with that particular piece. We'll go on with Campo Morado to negotiate a definitive agreement and get started on the tailings testing. In the last 2 weeks, BHP's Think and Act Differently cohort included EnviroGold in that, and we have a testing program for tailings that will be ongoing with the members of the BHP TAD consortium, and that includes companies like obviously BHP, Boliden, and IGO. We have completed additional testing on the HZL jarosite, and we're optimistic that that will come to fruition. Those samples are actually in the lab right now. They're in an external analytical lab. And we'll be starting in the next couple of weeks testing on nickel recovery from some nickel tailings in Canada. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this slide, we will be starting on the leach process on the Campo Morado tailings for Luca Mining in Mexico. We're very excited about that one. That's a very similar project to the Helia project that I'll be talking about in the next few slides. Our flagship and primary project right now is the Helia gold mine. Our PEA data that are shown here showed about 950,000 ounces equivalent of gold. We've got the gold recoveries up 80%, silver recoveries up to 94%. Why is that interesting? The original mining and processing of the Helia ore allows for recovery of about 5% of the gold and 30% of the silver. So we've been able to up that from 5% to 80% for gold and from 30% to 90+% for the silver. The PEA shows an NPV 10 of about 175 million and after-tax cash flows 350 million. What we're looking at right now, and I'll show you the updated, the PEA was done at 1650. This just gives you a little bit of the sensitivity to gold price. We're currently looking between 1,800 and 2,000 for gold, so we're fairly optimistic on this. Other metal prices. The project also produces copper and zinc, and we're expecting good revenues from the copper and zinc as demand for copper continues. The Helia project itself, we've just completed our pilot plant testing at the ALS facility in Perth, Australia. All the numbers came out exactly where we expected, and we were very pleased to get good recoveries on gold, silver, copper, and zinc. The data that we collected from the pilot plant are being incorporated into the 43-101 technical report, and the team is working on the update to that technical report. And we're working with Sedgman, the engineering company out of Australia, to provide input to the technical report so that we'll be able to produce a robust technical report, and we're expecting that in the next few weeks. The in progress there says sign up another project. I just told you that we did sign the other project, so that one actually has to go up into the accomplishments. So we're very pleased to be working with Luca. And then we'll be advancing at the completion of the update to the technical report. You can look for us to advance the DFS for Helia and then advance the testing with BHP TAD. We're very excited about that. It gives us the opportunity to work with some very, very large mining companies globally. And the advantages there is that the TAD program is completely funded by the mining companies themselves. And the beauty of it is that my team and the mining companies' teams are able to collaborate to provide the best outcomes on the treatment of their tailings. And in this particular case, we're looking at not only metal recovery, but reduced environmental liability as we move forward. Our capital structure, those of you who are interested in the capital structure, I would point out that our market cap right now is about $40 million at 20 cents. And we've had a lot of interest in the stock over the last few weeks, more specifically since we announced since it was announced that we were in the BHP TAD cohort. The structure there is fairly simple, and that was as of June. I'll be updating this slide to reflect the last few weeks. And then finally, I couldn't do this without my team. The people that you see up at the top of the screen there are my core team. Brock Hill, our Chief Technology Officer that you see there on the top, second one from the right. He's the person that helps us develop the technology and apply the technology to the different tailings facilities as they come into our portfolio. About 6 months ago, I could say quite clearly we were testing on Helia, and we had some opportunities for testing on a few other projects, but nothing concrete. Since we signed up Hindustan Zinc, we now have tailings from 2 other large companies and also the TAD consortium. So we're very pleased with the way that the business is developing, and we're very pleased with the outcomes on the Helia testing. And we would not be able to do that without our team. Sergio De Giovanni, he's a very practical operator who brings the reality to the testing that we do on site. And the rest of the team are just amazing at the support. And we also have very good support from our board of directors, which has got strength in depth. So why would you look at investing in EnviroGold? Well, this is a new opportunity. We've taken a leach technology that has been used for many years, but not commonly. We've added in our own proprietary secret sauce to recycle a lot of the catalysts. So building on that, we have a market opportunity that is massive, driven by the requirement and need for these transition metals as well as precious metals, that would provide for near-term cash flow. As I've mentioned, and I think you've become aware, we have a substantial pipeline of projects to work on, and we've got funding in place to assist us with the development of those projects, which is really nice. Our management team is phenomenal. We have 300 years of experience, and that doesn't say a lot for well, that says a huge amount actually for such a small team. We bring a lot to the market, and we bring a lot of experience to our partners. As I've mentioned, we have multiple catalysts ahead in 2023, not only with the update to the technical report to Helia, but the initiation of testing on the Campo Morado project and the initiation of testing on the BHP TAD projects. And we're the first ones in the space. Nobody else is really doing what we do with these complicated tailings. There's a huge amount of value in those tailings that we believe we can unlock as we advance the projects forward. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for taking the time to listen this morning. My talks are always brief, but I'm very happy to provide additional information through any questions that anyone may have. I would say at this point, our team is really focused on getting this first project up and running, and also of developing the opportunities with the various big mining companies that we have working with us. So with that, thank you, and back to Alina.
Well, thanks a lot, Mark. That was a great presentation. Just as a reminder to our audience, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. So, Mark, we have a couple of questions. First one here. On which minerals has this technology proven to be effective?
So we've tested tailings across the VMS spectrum. Most of the tailings that we've really dealt with are these complicated sulfides. More particularly, now we're starting to look at nickel sulfides and some of the copper minerals because that's what the larger mining companies are interested in. The beauty of the technology is it breaks apart the pyrite and liberates the trapped metals inside. As it breaks apart the pyrite, it also reduces the acid generation potential for the tailings. So anything that's got sulfides in it will work. And we're also working on some of the jarosite residues from the smelters as well. So we've proven that one up as well.
Okay. When do you expect the decision about the project financing of Helio?
So we're going to be working through the update to the technical report, and then we've got to go on and do the definitive feasibility study. So we're expecting to make an investment decision, all things being equal, in Q1 next year.
Okay. Follow-up question to the first one, Mark. Did you do any tests on nickel laterites?
No, we have not done nickel laterites just yet. I was in Australia last week, and there was quite a bit of chatter about Queensland Pacific Metals, who are doing lateritic nickel extraction with a leach. We understand that their process is going very well, similar to ours. And we're looking forward to further conversation with them. Just a bit of a technology exchange, obviously all under an NDA. But no, we have not tested the nickel laterites yet.
Okay. If everything goes as planned, when do you expect to start generating revenue?
Next year, we should be finish up the investment decision Q1. It'll be 6 months to do the detailed engineering. We'll install the plant at the end of next year.
Okay. A question on your business model. Are you moving towards a royalty?
Yes, thank you, Alina. One of the things that we found, and I've been working in the mining business for 35 years, and the mining companies are very adept at adapting to new technology when it's presented in an appropriate way. One of the things that EnviroGold is looking at, particularly with larger mining companies, is to seek a royalty model where we would, work with the mining company to develop the technology for their particular tailings application. On the investment decision, we would receive an upfront licensing fee for our technology, and then the company would finance and then build the plant, and we would take a royalty on that. We think that's, in the long term, the best way to go and the best use of our technical skills. We're not a mining company. We are a technology company, and working with mining companies who are very familiar with their sites and locations seems to be the obvious win-win for everybody.
Okay. Next question. Can your technology be selective when it comes to minerals containing copper and gold? Can you leach out gold without copper going to PLS and then do copper separately?
So we, in the particular application that we're doing right now, we're actually leaching the copper into the PLS, and the gold remains in the residue because the gold is not affected by our leach process, and the silver. And so the copper would then be recovered from the PLS, and the gold and silver would be recovered from the residue through conventional gold and silver recovery methods. So to answer the question, the gold doesn't go into the PLS because that's not the kind of solution that we're using. The gold remains in the solid phase and is then available for standard gold recovery.
Okay. Back to that question on the royalty. What range do you target?
We have not negotiated one yet, so I can't really comment on that, Alina. I'm very sorry. We're working internally within EnviroGold to set up what we think would be suitable ranges. Where we see the technology, for instance, unlocking the value in the tailings at Helia, there's a lot of value in the tailings with 950,000 ounces equivalent of gold. So there's obviously a royalty there that works really well for both the company and us, and we've just got to work our way through that on the other projects. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so on the MOU with Luca Mining today, what are your timelines on that looking like?
So we're expecting to start negotiating the definitive agreement in the next couple of weeks. We expect it to take a couple of months to get the definitive agreement signed and worked up. And then we expect to start testing on their tailings before the end of the year.
Okay, so next question. Any new technology faces challenges when being implemented on an industrial scale? What challenges do you see that might have a significant impact on your projections?
So the challenges primarily for us are on the metal recoveries is fairly standard technology. So we're looking at precipitating metals, and that's a standard technology. The initial digest and applying it to the various tailings is probably the challenge. We've got it to work very nicely on the VMSs, so we're not concerned about that, and it's technologically it's sound. Where we see the kind of the challenges as we advance forward is tweaking the process for the different tailings as they come through the door. So we're starting to look at these nickel sulfides, and we think we can do that. But that's where we've got to tweak the process, and it's going to take Brock and the team a little bit of time to tweak the process. And that's probably more related to the scaling up of the business outside of the core VMS.
All right. Well, Mark, I think that's it on the questions. Thank you so much for hosting this webinar with us today. Just as a reminder for our audience, our next webinar. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. There's another question that's come through.
No problem at all. We're here. We've got plenty of time.
What about applying your leach process to splarurites?
That would be a question for my geologist. Could I can what I can do is I can talk to my geologist. I'm an ecologist. I'm not a geologist or a metallurgist, so I'm afraid I can't answer that question. But I will commit to responding to the person if we can get the name of the person in the email. Alina, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll share the list with you, Mark. So
perfect. Thank you so much.
We'll let you know. Okay, so I think that's it for the webinar. Our next webinar will feature Peninsula Energy, and that's tomorrow, August 30th. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Alina. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.